Welcome to Dreamy Scientist. Here, science doesn't rush, it drifts. We don't just explain, we wonder, and we rest in the beauty of quiet discovery. Tonight, we begin a gentle journey into the secret world of honeybees. Not the buzzing chaos you may imagine, but the soft, rhythmic life behind waxen walls, where language is danced, not spoken. So find your breath, slow your mind, and let the hive awaken with you. In the quiet moments before dawn, when the sky still stretches between sleep and sun, something ancient stirs beneath the bark of an old oak tree. Inside a hollow chamber, warm and alive, rests a world unseen, the honeybee hive. This hive is no chaos. It is a chamber of rhythm and breath, of wax and memory, of wings that listen. As the world outside slumbers in mist and stillness, inside this woven home of golden architecture, the tiniest movements begin. For hours the hive has been still. Bees have clung together in sleep-like calm, sharing warmth, sharing silence. But the silence is not empty, it is full of promise. Deep inside the honeycomb, vibrations begin to travel, soft pulses, like the gentle knock of morning at the door. The first to move do not open their eyes, for bees live mostly in the dark. Instead they shift, a twitch of a leg, a flick of an antenna. They feel the hum of the colony before they fully awaken. It's not a sound you can hear, it's a language you feel with your feet, your wings, your whole tiny body. One stirs, then another, and soon a slow ripple of motion spreads like sunlight across still water. The hive is waking up, not with noise, not with hurry, but with softness. The waxen walls hold warmth, like a cradle. This warmth, this steady rise in temperature, tells them something wordless. It's time. Time to begin again. Time to clean, to care, to search, to build, to live. A few worker bees stretch and preen, cleaning their fuzzy golden coats with careful strokes. Grooming isn't vanity here. It's survival. It's bonding. It's the invisible thread that holds the colony together. Nurse bees shuffle deeper into the comb, checking the soft white larvae in their waxy cells. Their heads nod, their antennae stroke the edges of each chamber. Is the air too damp, too dry? They know what to do, without being told. Other bees begin to fan their wings in slow, synchronized waves. This is the air conditioning of the hive, controlling the climate, keeping the wax firm, the brood warm, the honey sealed. No single bee gives instructions, no one commands. The hive simply knows. It responds as one, as if the hive itself is a brain, and each bee a thought, a neuron, a signal. The colony is a living thing, made of many. Outside the light changes. It is still pale, still filtered through leaves and dew, but it is enough. At the entrance of the hive a few guards stir. They test the air with twitching antennae. They sense pollen. They sense possibility, and then from the quiet, from the calm, one small bee begins her warm-up. Her wings buzz softly, not with the urgency of flight, but with the promise of it. She pulses her flight muscles gently, building warmth, preparing for what comes next. The first flight of the day. The sun rises quietly through the trees, its golden light brushing across the canopy like fingers parting a curtain. Shadows retreat into the roots, and the world begins to glow. But for one small creature, the light is more than warmth. It is a signal, a map, a memory. From the opening of the hive a single honeybee steps forward. She is not a scout, not yet. She is just one among many. But her body knows the path. Her wings remember not in thoughts, not in pictures, but in something deeper, something older. She flexes her wings slowly, letting warmth seep into her muscles. Bees cannot fly cold. Their flight is born of heat, of motion. Inside her thorax, tiny bundles of muscle begin to contract, not to move the wings directly, but to shake them back and forth, thousands of times a minute, until she vibrates with energy. She warms herself not with sunlight, but with her own gentle buzzing. She is a furnace of flight. And then, she lifts, not with force, not with fanfare, but with grace. Her wings become a blur, and she rises into the morning air like a sigh that escaped the earth. The world outside the hive is vast and full of questions, but she doesn't hesitate. She turns, just slightly, adjusting her path by instinct, by angle, by light. The sun is her compass, the sky, her guide. Bees navigate with astonishing accuracy. They track the position of the sun across the day, adjusting for its movement, correcting for time. This tiny creature, no larger than a fingernail, carries a living clock inside her. It is not built of gears or numbers. It is built of rhythm, the memory of golden hours, and the pull of distant nectar. She banks gently, curving between leaves. Every wing beat is a calculation. Every turn is memory in motion. But how does she remember? Inside her brain, smaller than a grain of rice, are neurons tuned to polarized light. She sees patterns invisible to the human eye. The sky itself speaks to her through secret signals, and she listens not with ears but with sight. More than that, she remembers scent. Flowers she visited yesterday, or the day before, their perfume still lingers on her tiny hairs. She can recognize a bloom from meters away by the way it whispers on the wind. She remembers. Bees form mental maps, not with roads and signs, but with landmarks of shape, angle, scent and space. That mossy rock, that tilted branch, that cluster of purple blossoms near the fence. These things build a path inside her. She remembers the hive, its smell, its warmth, its home. She is never lost, even when she is alone. And so she flies, across gardens and grasses, over puddles and petals, past thorns and wind. She weaves a thread through the world, connecting invisible points with purposeful grace. Each wing beat, a choice. Each turn, a mess. She is not just a forager, she is a living line of communication, a question carried on wings, searching for an answer in bloom. Far ahead, a patch of wildflowers comes into view. Their colors are bold, purples, blues, yellows glowing in the morning light. She angles downward, slows and lands with delicate precision on a daisy's soft center. Her legs press into the pollen, her tongue uncoils like a silken straw, dipping into the flower's heart. Sugar water flows, not just food, information. The sweetness tells her if this flower is worth sharing. The scent gives clues to its location. The warmth, the wind, the angle of the sun. She gathers it all, not with notebooks or numbers, but with her senses. She drinks, she thinks, and then she lifts again. The wind is soft this morning, not strong, but playful. It nudges the petals of wildflowers, rattles the leaves with a whisper, and brushes against the wings of a foraging bee as she floats past the garden wall. To watch her, you might think she's flying randomly, drifting here, circling there, dipping, rising, pausing midair. But beneath that gentle dance is something astonishing. Mathematics. She doesn't know it in the way humans do. She's never seen a chalkboard or solved an equation, but her flight is a living equation, one that has been refined over millions of years. Each turn, each pause, each angle is a solution to a problem. How to find the most nectar in the shortest time, using the least energy. This is called the optimal foraging path, a concept that's baffled even computer scientists. It's the same challenge faced by delivery trucks or mapping software. How to visit many points efficiently, without wasting motion. A honeybee solves it in mid-air. She hovers near a cluster of flowers, then begins to visit them, one by one, in a sequence that seems random until you watch it unfold. She avoids overlap. She loops outward, not inward. She circles back only when it makes sense, and somehow she remembers it all. The angle of the sun, the scent trails left by earlier bees, the taste of each flower, whether it gave generously, or only teased with scent but no sugar. Her brain, no bigger than a grain of rice, filters, stores and ranks this information as she flies. Inside the petals of each bloom she finds nectar, but not just anywhere. The flower has designed itself carefully, with spirals and symmetry. Some flowers tuck their nectar deep inside, wrapped in curled petals, or guarded by pollen-dusted filament. Others leave it open, like a shallow bowl, inviting and bold. Each shape presents a new challenge, a puzzle, and the bee must adapt. Her tongue, a long, flexible proboscis, unrolls gently into the depths of each bloom. If the nectar is far, she stretches. If it's shallow, she sips quickly. If the entrance is narrow, she changes her angle. Her flight legs anchor her, allowing her to hover in still air, even as the flower sways beneath her. And as she drinks, she remembers bees are exceptional at associating geometry with reward. If a hexagonal flower offers more nectar, she will remember that shape. If a long tube hides sweet liquid at its base, she'll store that distance in her mind, not as words, not as images, but as actions, as muscle memory. She will return not because she understands shapes, but because her body does, and over time this becomes a dance. She is not the only bee, others are out now circling above, weaving past each other with near silence. They rarely collide, they share the air like musicians in a symphony, never stepping on each other's notes, and when one bee finds something worth sharing, she carries it back, not just on her legs, in the sticky golden baskets of pollen, but in her mind. She will not speak it, but she will show it, through movement. Tonight you'll travel not on roads of asphalt or paths of stone, but along invisible lines, drawn by scent, sunlight and memory. In this quiet episode, we follow the honeybee's return journey, a silent navigation back to home, across wind, through sky beyond sight. Let's close our eyes and drift with her. The wind is different now, not the light breeze of morning, but the low hush of afternoon. The flowers have begun to fold in the heat, their bright petals no longer stretch wide, instead they lean, as if nodding in drowsy gratitude to the sun. But the bee is still in flight. She has visited her final blossom, sipped her final drop of nectar, and now she turns and begins the journey home. She carries no compass, she does not have a map, and yet, she knows exactly where to go. The answer lies in the quiet science of instinct and design, a symphony of invisible clues that only bees, and a few other creatures can read. Kibdisit, her first guide, the sun. The honeybee's most ancient compass is above her, the sun itself, but not as we see it, golden and glowing. She sees its polarized light rays bent and scattered by the sky. Invisible to the human eye, this light forms patterns across the blue dome above. To the bee, those patterns are road signs. Even when clouds cover the sun, even when it's behind trees or buildings, she reads the orientation of light, and turns her body to match it. This is her compass. She is a navigator of light. Turgeon, her second guide, the clock within. But the sun moves, so how does she track it? Inside her body ticks a mysterious mechanism, an internal clock. It doesn't tick like ours with hands or numbers, but through cycles of hormones, light sensitivity and time-trained rhythms. She knows what time it is, and she adjusts her angle of flight, because she knows what time the sun was when she left. If she flew northeast at 9 a.m., she must now return southwest at 2 p.m. Her wings move with mathematical memory, and her flight is a curved arc back toward her third guide, the earth itself. But light and time are not her only guides. The honeybee may also feel something deeper, a pull from the very planet. Some scientists believe bees sense magnetic fields, like tiny compasses with living needles. Inside their bodies may lie particles of iron, responding to Earth's silent magnetism. When skies are dark, when familiar landmarks vanish, she may feel the direction home in her bones. Her fourth guide, the memory of trees. And then, there are landmarks, a certain crooked branch, a pile of stones, the way the river curves near the orchard. Bees don't only fly by scent and light. They create mental maps, not like ours with street names and satellite images, but with shapes, colors and texture. They remember the angle of the barn roof, the shadow beneath the big oak tree, the way sunlight filters through the lilac bush at noon. And with every return journey these maps grow sharper. Each flight is a layering of memory. Each landmark becomes a friend. Her fifth guide, the invisible trail. There's one more secret, a scent, not from flowers but from her own body. As bees fly, they sometimes leave behind the faintest chemical signature, invisible trails that help guide them and others back. The air itself holds her history, written not in ink but in molecules, a message whispered to the wind. Now as she glides through the open air, all these tools work together. She curves left because the sun says so. She rises slightly because she remembers the hill. She banks right because the tree with the hollow trunk is just ahead. And beneath it all, she feels the pull of the hive, not as a sound or sight but as a certainty. She is going home. Tonight let your thoughts drift into the soft golden hum of a honeybee hive, where thousands of minds work as one, and yet no single voice commands them. This is the magic of the hive mind, not chaos, but cooperation, not shouting but silent understanding. Let us begin our journey into collective wisdom. The hive is quiet, not silent but deeply calm. It hums in a language that has no words,
only rhythms, a low, living vibration that flows through wax walls and honeycomb corridors. If you were small enough to step inside, you would not find a leader giving orders, you would not find a throne, or a central voice, and yet, the entire structure breathes with intelligence. How do bees, tens of thousands of them, make decisions, solve problems, and act together, without a queen commanding them, without any one bee knowing everything? The answer lies in the mystery of distributed intelligence, a system where the parts think together. Let's enter this world, the illusion of the queen. It's a common belief that the queen bee rules the hive, but she does not give orders, she does not tell others what to do. She is respected, yes, but she is not a ruler. She is the heart of the hive, but not the mind. The mind is the queen's role is to lay eggs, sometimes more than 1,000 in a single day, but decisions about food, defense, building, foraging or swarming, those are made by the workers collective. It is the sisters, the foragers, nurses, guards, builders, who create the logic of the hive. Tiny decisions, big intelligence. A single bee is clever in her own right. She can remember, learn, calculate and communicate, but her true genius is when she joins the group. Imagine a swarm deciding where to build a new hive. No leader steps forward, no vote is cast, no blueprint is drawn. Instead, scouts fly out, dozens at first, each looking for possible sites. A hollow tree, an abandoned box, a crevice in stone. Each scout evaluates the site using strict criteria. Is it dry? Is it large enough? Is it hidden from predators? If she likes it, she returns to the swarm and begins to dance. Not just any dance, but a special waggle dance that communicates direction, distance, and enthusiasm. The better the site, the more vigorous the dance, more turns, more wiggles, more energy. Other scouts watch. If they're convinced, they go check the site themselves. If they agree, they also return and dance the same message. Gradually, a consensus forms, not instantly, not loudly, but through growing agreement. More dancers mean more votes. The swarm slowly leans toward the best location, and when enough agreement is reached, they all lift into the air and fly there together. No one gave the order, no one knew the whole picture, but together, they made the best choice. This is swarm intelligence, not just cooperation, but wisdom without central control. The hive as a brain. Some scientists compare the hive to a single brain, with each bee acting like a neuron, carrying small pieces of information, passing signals, and creating patterns of decision. The hive learns, it remembers the best food sources, it balances need versus risk, sending out more foragers in good weather, fewer in rain. It adapts, building extra honey stores in hard times, shifting roles between bees as needed. No one bee knows the whole system, and yet, the system learns. This kind of intelligence has inspired fields like robotics, artificial intelligence, and data networks. Engineers now design machines that mimic the swarm, each part simple, but together, powerful. As we drift deeper into the golden hum of the hive, we begin to feel it too, the comfort of shared purpose, the softness of silent collaboration, the quiet truth that intelligence is not always loud. Sometimes it is a whisper between wings, sometimes it is a rhythm beneath wax, sometimes it is 1,000 tiny choices, all leading to one wise result. Tonight we trace the journey of gold, not the kind buried deep in the ground, but the golden liquid held in perfect wax cells, hidden inside the quiet warmth of a beehive. This is the story of honey, a gift made not in factories or by machines, but in the flight of wings, and the patience of nature. So lie back, close your eyes, and follow the nectar. It begins with a flower. The sun rises over a wild meadow, petals unfold, colors wave. A single drop of nectar waits at the base of the blossom, a sugary fragrant pool formed from sunlight, soil and rain, and then, a gentle buzz, a honeybee lands delicate and soft. She doesn't take the nectar all at once, instead she reaches with her long straw-like tongue, her proboscis, and sips. The nectar enters her body but not her stomach for digestion. It goes into a special pouch, her honey stomach, a second chamber made just for transport. She gathers drop after drop, flying from flower to flower, until her load is full. Then she turns toward home, the return to the hive. The journey back is swift. She carries not only nectar, but knowledge. Her mind remembers which flowers had the sweetest drops, and when she returns she will tell others, through her dance. But first, she shares her treasure, Inside the hive, another worker waits. The forager opens her mouth and passes the nectar, drop by drop, to the house bee. It may seem small, but this is the moment when alchemy begins. The science of the mouth. The house bee doesn't swallow the nectar either. She holds it in her mouth, gently working it with her tongue, and as she does, enzymes in her saliva mix with the nectar. These enzymes begin to break down the complex sugars, transforming them into simpler ones, glucose and fructose. This makes the nectar more stable, less likely to spoil, but it's still too wet, nearly 70% water. So now comes the drying, the evaporation dance. She places the nectar drop onto the surface of a wax cell, then she fans it with her wings, and she's not alone. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of bees join in, fanning, buzzing, creating a breeze inside the hive, a soft,
insinuous wind that slowly dries the nectar. Water evaporates, the liquid thickens, it becomes golden, rich, and sticky. As it thickens, the sugars grow more concentrated. It changes color from pale to amber. Its scent deepens, warm, floral, earthy, and when it reaches just the right texture, less than 18% water, the bees know it is ready. This is honey, the seal of preservation. Now, a final step remains. The bees cover the honey with wax, a tiny lid, carefully sculpted. This wax seal keeps moisture out and protects the honey from spoilage. It can last for years, decades, even centuries. In fact, archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient tombs, still preserved, still edible, a gift of time, more than just sweetness. But honey is not just food. For bees, it is survival. In spring and summer, when flowers bloom, they gather more than they need, not for greed, but for the future. When winter comes, and blossoms vanish, the hive will live on stored honey, warmed by their bodies, fed drop by drop to the queen, the nurses, the babies. Every cell of honey is a memory of a flower. Tonight, as you lie still, think of this journey, from petal to pouch to hive to honey, 1,000 wings working as one, transforming sunlight and sweetness into golden life. Honey is not made quickly. It is not made alone. It is built in tiny moments, a labor of care, a dance of chemistry, a golden gift. Tonight, we enter the watchful heart of the hive, where protection is quiet but constant, and every wing is alert to danger. Even in the soft world of bees, there is a time to defend, to guard the gold, the queen, the eggs, the future. So close your eyes and listen to the soldiers with no armor, only courage. The morning may look peaceful. The bees come and go, dancing in sunbeams, bringing nectar, building wax, feeding young. But just beyond the entrance, a tiny army stands watch. These are the guard bees. They do not forage. They do not build. They do not feed the queen or nurse the babies. Their duty is clear: to protect. The guardians at the gate. The hive's entrance is narrow by design. It helps the bees defend it with precision. Here the guards hover, alert and still. Their antennae flick, their legs brace, their senses tuned to every wingbeat that approaches. Every bee who returns is checked, smelled, touched, identified. You see, each hive has its own scent signature, a chemical perfume shared by all its members. If the incoming bee carries the right scent, she is welcomed home. But if her smell is foreign, if she is a stranger, or worse, a robber bee, she is stopped, sometimes gentle, sometimes with force. Robbers and intruders. Not all bees are peaceful. Sometimes, bees from weaker or desperate colonies try to steal honey from their neighbors. They may fly in pretending to be part of the hive, but the guards know better. They tackle the intruder mid-air. They bite, sting, and drive her away. If she resists, they fight to the death. It is not just bees they fear. Wasps, hornets, ants, all hunger for honey and bee larvae. A single hornet can wipe out many workers. But the hive does not panic. It responds like a living shield. The signal of alarm. When danger truly strikes, one bee may release a special chemical, the alarm pheromone. It smells sharp, like bananas or citrus, and it spreads fast. The scent wakes the warriors. More guards rush forward. Their wings whir. Their stingers brace. This is not chaos. This is coordination. Each defender knows where to go, not because she was told, but because she feels it. The weapon of the stinger. A bee does not sting easily. She gives warning first, flying close, bumping the intruder, buzzing but if that fails, she strikes. Her stinger is tiny, barbed like a hook, and once it enters flesh, it stays lodged. As she pulls away, the stinger tears free along with part of her abdomen. She will die soon after, but her sting lives on. It keeps pumping venom for minutes. It continues to deliver pain and more alarm scent. Her sacrifice calls others to the fight. The cost of defense. Honeybees are not aggressive by nature. They do not chase for sport. They defend what matters. The queen, the brood, the food. Even their defense has limits. If a large predator comes, like a bear, and there is no hope of stopping it, the bees may abandon the hive and relocate. Survival, not revenge, is their instinct. Joel, wisdom in defense. But what's truly fascinating is how bees choose their battles. They can detect the threat level. They sting only when needed. They conserve their energy and defenders. If a false alarm occurs, say a passing animal, the guards may tense, but not attack. There is judgment, awareness, even strategy. They are not mindless. They are mindful. They defend without hate. They protect with purpose. Tonight, as you rest, know that even the gentlest creatures carry courage within them. The hive does not boast. It does not rage. But when the time comes, it stands together, wing to wing, not for war, but for peace. Not to conquer, but to guard the golden life inside. Tonight we step into a royal mystery, a story that begins in silence, inside a wax cell, and ends with the birth of a queen. There is no crown, no palace, no ceremony, and yet something sacred stirs in the dark. This is the tale of transformation, of destiny shaped by diet, of a sister who rises, not because she is chosen, but because she is fed differently. Close your eyes, breathe softly. The queen is about to be born. In the heart of the hive, new life begins, quietly and visibly. The queen lays her eggs, one by one, each tucked gently into a wax cell. Some will become workers. A few may become drones. But on rare, remarkable days, one of those eggs becomes something more, a queen. And how does the hive decide? Not by vote, not by bloodline, but by a change so simple, it almost feels like magic. Food, the royal diet, milk of the hive. All bee larvae begin the same. For the first 3 days, they are fed a creamy, glistening substance called royal jelly. But after those 3 days, most larvae are switched to a mixture of honey and pollen, a regular worker's diet. Only one continues to receive the royal jelly, a thick milky white secretion, rich in proteins, sugars, vitamins and unknown compounds, so potent that it transforms an ordinary larva into a queen. She will grow faster, longer, more fully. Her ovaries will develop, her body will stretch, her wings will widen, all because she was never switched to anything less. It is the difference in food, not in the egg itself, that decides her destiny. Inside the queen cell, as she feeds and grows, the hive gives her a different kind of. Unlike the horizontal cells of workers and drones, the queen's cell is vertical, long and peanut-shaped, hanging downward from the comb. It is larger, thicker, guarded. Inside she spins a silky cocoon, and begins to pupate, changing from larva to adult. The process is hidden, but every moment is a step closer to emergence, the timing of rivalry, and yet the queen's birth is never peaceful. You see, the bees don't raise just one queen at a time. They prepare several,
multiple queen cells may develop at once, each with a growing princess inside. But the hive can only have one reigning queen. Too many queens would mean chaos, so nature writes a rule in silence. When the first queen hatches, she seeks the others, not to greet them, but to destroy them. The battle for the crown. The newly emerged queen is elegant, longer, smoother, more graceful than her sisters, but she is not gentle. She listens for faint squeaks from the sealed queen cells, and one by one, she goes to, with her curved, sharp stinger, the only bee in the hive who can sting multiple times without dying. She tears through the wax. If the rival is still in her cocoon, she stings her before she fully awakens. If two queens hatch at once, they fight. Only one will remain. Victory means life. Defeat means silence. This may seem harsh, but for the survival of the hive, there can be only one voice at the center. The queen is crowned. And so when the battle ends, the last queen stands alone. The workers gather near. They do not bow. They do not cheer, but they sense her presence. Her scent. She releases her first pheromones, a chemical signal that says, "I am queen." And the hive responds. They feed her, clean her, surround her. A new chapter begins, not with ceremony, but with scent and silence. Tonight, as your mind begins to rest, think of the queen's journey, from ordinary egg to royal rise. She was not chosen. She was not born different. She simply received more nourishment, more care, more attention, and in that extra kindness, she found her strength. Perhaps in your own story there are still unopened queen cells, still golden moments, waiting to awaken. Rest now. The hive is safe. The queen has risen. Tonight we shrink once again, into the tiny world of the honeybee. But not just to observe. Tonight we scent. How does a bee taste a flower? How does she see colors we cannot? How does she hear without ears, and feel the dance of sunlight on her wing? We drift into a realm of hidden senses, where every petal hums with energy, and every breeze carries a secret. So close your eyes, open your inner senses, and let us float into the whispering world of the bee, vision beyond our own. To us the world is painted in reds and blues, shadows and shapes, a familiar glow of daylight, but a honeybee sees something more. She sees ultraviolet light, colors that are invisible to the human eye. To a bee, a flower is not just pretty, it's glowing with secret patterns, guiding lines that say, "Come here, friend, drink." This is called a nectar guide, a visual invitation drawn in UV. The center of the flower glows like a beacon, only visible to the bee. Even the shape of light is different. Bees have compound eyes, made up of thousands of tiny lenses. Each lens captures a sliver of the world, and together they stitch a quilt of color and movement. It's not sharp like our vision, it's soft, flickering and fast. Bees can detect motion in the blink of a heartbeat. They can track the sun even on cloudy days, sensing the polarization of light, the way the sun bends the sky. To see like a bee is to live in a world constantly alive with subtle messages, the language of scent. But if vision is the map, smell is the language. A bee's antennae are her nose, sensitive, twitching, alive. She smells more than flowers. She smells fear, joy, home and belonging. The queen releases her scent, a perfume that keeps the hive united. Workers leave trails of scent behind them, marking paths to food. And when a threat arises, the alarm pheromone bursts like citrus in the air, and the entire hive knows. Every scent tells a story, and the bee reads it like a book. The taste of nectar. Do bees taste? Oh yes. Tiny taste receptors live on their tongues, on their feet, even on their antennae. When a bee lands on a flower, she can taste the nectar with her toes. Before she even drinks, she knows if it's sweet enough, if it's worth telling others about, if it's safe. Bees don't eat just to live. They eat with wisdom. Their tongues are like tiny straws, coated in hairs, dipping deep into blossoms, to sip the golden liquid inside. To taste like a bee is to experience each drop as a signal, a message, a gift. Hearing without ears. But what about sound? These don't have ears, no soft folds, no drums, and yet they hear, not like we do, not in words or music, but in vibration. When the air moves, when wings buzz, when a foot taps the wax, the bee feels it, inside her legs. She holds tiny organs, sensory pits that detect movement and frequency. She hears the queen's song, not through air, but through the trembling of comb and wax. She hears a dance, a vibration, a rhythm played out on the stage of the hive. It is a different kind of hearing, closer to feeling. D as sixth sense, and there may be more. Scientists believe bees may sense electrical fields. When a bee flies, her body becomes slightly charged. Flowers, touched by the wind and sun, hold their own charge. When she lands, she feels the difference. She knows which flowers are fresh, and which have already been visited. Even without touching, she reads the energy in the air. This is not magic, this is biology. So advanced it feels like intuition, and perhaps it is. Tonight, as you sink into sleep, let your imagination hum like wings. Imagine seeing ultraviolet glow, tasting sugar through your feet, smelling thoughts in the air, hearing the silence of wax, and reading energy with your skin. The world is wider than we know, and the honeybee is proof. Close your eyes. The hive is the whispers of the wind have spoken. You are safe. You are sensing. You are home. Tonight we come to the end of our journey, but not the end of the story. For every end in nature is only a pause in the rhythm, a turning of the season, a breath between heartbeat. Tonight we follow the final flight of the honeybee, a tale not of sadness, but of renewal. What happens when a bee's work is done? What happens when the wings grow tired, and the dance slows? Close your eyes, let the hum fade into silence, and let us wander, one last time, into the golden light of the hive. The short life of a worker. The worker bee is born in warmth, fed and cleaned by her sisters, and sent into the world of duties. From the moment she emerges, she begins a cycle of roles, of purpose, of giving. In her first days she stays within the hive, a nurse to the newborns, a cleaner of cells, a tender to the queen. Later she builds, shapes wax, packs pollen, guards the entrance, and finally, when she is ready, she flies. A life in days. A worker bee lives only a few weeks in summer, perhaps 30 or 40 days, but in that time, she will visit thousands of flowers, fly hundreds of miles, and give her all to something greater than herself. Her body begins to wear down, wings fray, eyes dim. When her strength fades, she does not complain, she does not linger. Often she will fly away, one last time, far from the hive, and there, in quiet grass or flowered field, she will rest. The gentle exit. In nature there is no ceremony for death, no grave, no farewell, but there is grace. The bee's final act is to make space for the next. By leaving the hive, she protects her sisters from illness, from decay, from the burden of carrying her. Even in her final breath, she serves. It is not sad, it is beautiful. The ending is gentle. The silence is full. Autumn in the hive. As seasons turn, so does the life of the hive. In late autumn, the flowers fade, the days grow short, the air grows still. The drones, the male bees, are no longer needed. They have no stingers, no foraging duties. Their purpose was to mate with a queen, and that time has passed, and so, they are removed. The worker bees, stop feeding them, sort them out, close the doors. The hive becomes quieter, tighter, ready for winter. The winter cluster. When the cold arrives, the bees gather close. They form a winter cluster, a living ball of warmth. At the center the queen, around her thousands of workers, vibrating their wings to generate. Those on the outside will rotate inward, like petals on a turning flower, so that no bee stays cold for too long. They eat slowly from stored honey, they sleep in shifts, they wait, and all through the silent snow, the hive hums quietly, the promise of spring. And when the frost melts, when the light returns, the bees emerge once more. New eggs are laid, new workers are born, new flights begin, the cycle continues, every bee that died, made space for this, every tired wing, paved the way for the next generation. Nothing is lost, it only changes form, legacy in the wax, even the wax holds memories, the combs built by one generation, are used by the next, the honey stored last fall, feeds the newborns of spring, pollen collected by one, becomes nourishment for many, nothing goes to waste, each bee becomes a thread, in the great golden fabric of the hive, woven across seasons, across generations, across time, asleep in peace. So now, as the story of the hive rests for the night, let us carry its wisdom, that life is not measured by years, but by service, by connection, by rhythm, that even in endings, there is beauty, and in every goodbye, a whisper of beginning. Sleep now, little traveler, the hive is warm, the hum is soft, the wings are still, and tomorrow, the flowers will bloom again, and so, the story of the honeybee reaches its close. From the soft hum of dawn in the hive, to the golden dances under the sun, from the secret messages in trembling wings, to the rise of a queen and the hush of winter's sleep, we have wandered through their world together, a world without spoken words, and yet filled with perfect communication, a world where every life is small, and yet nothing is insignificant. The bees remind us to live with purpose, to give without asking, to follow the rhythm of seasons, and to trust in the unseen harmony of nature. As you lie here now, safe, still, and wrapped in quiet, let your breath soften, let your thoughts slow, let the echo of wings lull you into rest. Sleep well, dream gently, and know, the hive hums